Hello, beautifuls, and welcome back to the not so weekly reading. Interesting energy has been happening for us lately, and so I was really in this place of retreat, pulling back from all people and places and things, and really just focusing on what's going on in my life, what's showing up, so that I can be prepared for this next wave. So, I haven't been here as much as I would have liked, but we're here today, so we'll just roll with it. I got a couple new decks for Christmas from a Hay House special, so I'm super excited. I'm going to use those today. The first card that comes out is the Queen of Voices. This one's really interesting. This morning when I was talking to a girlfriend, the crow was already going off, and we've got all these ones look more like ravens than crows. And so we have this Queen of Voices showing up here, and all these crows are surrounding her, and it kind of makes me think about like this protection almost. There's this energy that the crows are kind of surrounding us and showing us what's to come. I feel like they're bringing a lot of information of like, hey, this is showing up right here. There was this energy that came into my room last night that made me really uncomfortable, and it started pulling in on that fear of like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? Even though all day I literally help people remove their energies that surround them. And so when that came in, I really had to be like, no, actually, I'm magical as fuck. Get the hell out of my house. Right? And it was kind of this weird energy that I went through of seeing how far I've come, but also how there's this energy trying to linger. And so I really want you to stay mindful of the energy that's coming around, because as we dig into that fear energy, we start creating more things to be fearful of. And that is something that is showing up right now that we have to be very mindful so that we don't get caught up in this energy. It's interesting, the Lovers comes out too. This deck's so beautiful. The pictures are... I'm so happy I got these new decks. So we have a couple lotus flowers here, and the couple, that masculine, feminine, are almost divided, is how I see it. And yet it's like this divide, but then they're showing me the legs here, and it's creating this triangle that's showing up. And I know there's a couple girlfriends watching this that are gonna pick this up for me, but we have this triangle showing up here again, but it's like the hands and the feet are touching each other. And it kind of makes me think, weirdly enough, like this telepathic communication, almost like even if you feel like you're not connecting to your people the way you think, because the Lovers isn't just about romantic partnerships, but it's actually everybody, right? All your soulmates, all your people. And so this one's showing up today, showing you that you do hold this connection, because this feels, you know, what I see and why I see it telepathically is that energy work, right? Where it's like I can send energy to a friend from across the world and help her with something, even though I don't touch her. We hold that ability to connect with everybody without being there beside them, physically touching them. And they're even showing the auras here around the head of these beings. And that's kind of showing that telepathic communication that is here holding it together. The Page of Voices comes out. So we've got a couple swords cards coming out. And here's that tribe again, like hanging out with her. These kind of feel like the guide teams, like fairies and stuff running around. But we have several beings here, and this looks like mountains. Kind of makes me think of the Rocky Mountains, actually, the way they are. And so we have all of these obstacles that we've overcome is kind of how I see this. And we have all these beings that are like celebrating us for everything we've done. But this is us standing in our power, right? And so we really need to stay focused on that. That's what I had to do last night when I got into that uncomfortable energy, was getting to this place of reminding myself of how many obstacles I've actually overcome to even get here, right? My journey even getting me to the mountains. You know, I went from this place of flatlands and just nothing, but still had to go through all those obstacles, the chaos that holds that container back home. And through all those obstacles, I was able to come up over top of those mountains and come to this place where I'm in them, where I can really find that soul tribe, those people that are here, that are waiting for me. And so this is how we need to envision our lives, right? Is look at how much you've overcome over this last 10 years of your life. Because that 10-year cycle has been very pivotal for a lot of us. Think about it. I did a journaling exercise probably 6 months ago or something. It was in the summer, I think. And it was kind of like this reflecting back on 10 years ago. And it was like, who are you? What were your goals and aspirations? Like, what were you striving for? And so I did all this exercise. And then it was like, okay, so now look at your life now. What in that have you accomplished? What changed in you? How are you different? What are your aspirations and goals now that you're here in this place? And it's fascinating to watch and see when you really sit there and you sit in that year. So what are we, 2021? So 2011. When you really sit in that energy of 2011 and even coming into that 2012, because there was all kinds of things about things and stuff. I don't fucking remember, but I'm sure it pinged somebody. And there was like all this chaos going on. The world was ending or something, you know, there's always some kind of world ending thing happening. And all the things you overcame and seen and all this stuff, because back then, like I didn't even have the awareness of any of this stuff. I was very stuck in that ego, and I'm a truck driver and I make lots of money and I got to be this person that's like so big and ego-ish and things and negative, complaining about everybody and making fun of people and just being a really shitty person. And in this shift, when I look back at myself now, I'm like, oh, fuck. Right? Like, I'm actually a magical being that does such magical things now, because of all of that stuff that I went through in 2011 and 2012. My whole life. But when you look back and you really see it, instead of just looking at what you're doing now, right? Because so much is shifting and you see it. It's like we don't have a day that goes by that isn't changing something in you. It's like some days I change my being like 5 fucking times, or it's just like, I literally just shifted something and I don't even know who I am anymore. And 10 minutes later it happens again and I'm like, I don't know what's happening anymore. Because so many things are changing, making us really reevaluate who we are. And time slowed down for us all year this year to allow us to really dive deep into those emotions, into those triggers, into those things that we're refusing to look at. And you spent this entire year going through that. And then closer to the end of this year, time came back. And so we were catching up from all of the things that we had just experienced and went through this entire year. And it gave us that opportunity to really start seeing things from a different perspective of why we're here and what we're doing. Because now we're in a really big wave, right? This is something we've been preparing for a long time. And that equinox, solstice, that just went by, I was just listening to a video talking about the equinox. The solstice that just went by was kind of that new beginning. The bells will ring card used to come out in this deck all the time for months. As we were going through, I had to go get it because I'm like, this card is important. This card had been coming out, the Dawn Watcher, for months with a girlfriend and I. And every time I pulled it, I'd be like, I don't know what this means. We'd hear church bells ringing from her place and all these things. And I'd be like, that must be it. This must be it. These must be the bells. Over and over. And every fucking time it happened, guess what? Nothing really shifted. You know, or they'd be these little things that kept going, but there was no real anything that showed up to be like, okay, that was what those bells were about. Then weirdly enough, that Travis Scott concert happens. And it was a couple days after it that I had like watched a video about it. And I was driving my kid to school and I was like, it's here. It's begun. This is it. And I was driving to work or to my kid's school so fucking excited because I knew I got to drive home and spend an entire day just digging into like, okay, this is what this card was talking about. And this was my wake-up call that bells will ring was that concert. And for everybody else, it felt like they were getting their bells throughout that period, right? Between that, like, November 5th is when that concert was, up until that solstice, and even maybe still in this next few days, where you're really going to start seeing why we kept getting this warning sign that something was coming, something was coming. Now, this isn't saying you need to be scared because something's coming. This is saying it's time to be prepared. It's time to take all of those tools, that in which you have been building and working on and constructing and understanding over this last 10 years, like I'm talking about, and put it into a package and hold your container. The death card is the other card that fell out here. I'm like, man, I never talk this much and without talking about cards. Loving this. The death card is here. And I mean, if you look at this, like I haven't even looked at this card because I've been talking so much. And the death is what we're scared of, right? This is what the projection that's coming out in. But you see this here? This girl, her head's got all this information, all of this stuff, all the cobwebs. You can't even really tell what's going on in this picture because there's so much happening. Yet it's all her mind trying to find that death, and look at that higher self up here, right? It's like everything's trying to climb to allow her to fully connect. But all this year you've been clearing this shit out, making space, because you can't hear much when you have this much going on. And so that's why we had things slow down this year for us, to allow us to really pull this stuff apart, because there's still a lot of people in this place that are holding this much information in their head that they can't understand because they're trying to make logic of it. And we know from this perspective that we're holding that there is no logic that can be physically put on the things that girlfriends and I track, and the things that we talk about, and the things that we know and do aren't things that you talk about scientifically and about proof and facts and papers and shit like that. None of it exists. That is just an illusion that people have created, saying we need physical proof of things that are happening, even though we literally know that we are moving fucking mountains with our hands. And I literally did it a couple weeks ago. A mountain asked to be picked up, and I was driving and I was like, okay. So I energetically picked up this mountain. 2 days later, the road was closed because the fucking mountain had crumbled giant boulders off of it because that mountain wanted to breathe. This is an illusion. This is those Akashics that I keep talking about, showing you, hey, look, we have a whole lot of mess here of fucking thousands of years worth of bullshit, lessons, and hard conditioned mindsets that we need to pull out of. And the bells will ring one day, and you will realize that this entire package that you've been carrying held little secrets and little pieces of truths and little bits of this to show you where that magic lies. So I picked up a mountain the other day. Sounds fucking crazy. You may believe me, you may not. Who knows what really happens? But I want you to think about something that you've manifested recently. Something that you've done that you're like, hey, I want, okay, what else did I manifest one day? I manifested a train. I was waiting for a train at work one day, and they come by all the time. And all morning I'd been sitting there waiting for this train because I needed to connect to the energy of it for a friend. And it didn't show up. It didn't show up. And I literally said to one of the people at the collective, I was like, has anybody seen a train all day? Because literally, like, I've been waiting for one forever. And as soon as I finished saying that, I got a toot of a horn, and there goes a train engine. So I'm like running to the window trying to get a video of it. And it was literally like one train car, like 3 train cars with one engine. And I was like, fuck. But I still manifested it instantly. So where have you manifested instantly lately? Where have you seen your magic literally play out as if by magic instantaneously or within a few days? See those things. Because the more you see what you're doing, the more you start doing it. I started doing like the new moon manifestations and stuff like this, and really just like giving myself that time to manifest things. So I'll manifest things all throughout the month, all the time. I don't hold on and be like, okay, when the new moon comes, I'm going to manifest this. I'm manifesting that shit right now. I don't hold off for the moon. But I've been actually setting an intention to sit down at the new moon to do stuff so that I hold myself accountable for something. And I'm watching these manifestations take place as if by magic, because I'm sitting down and going, you know what? I'm not going to ask for big things. I'm not going to ask for like $10,000 a month. Eventually, maybe. But I had to start off small. I want to start booking my schedule out 2 weeks in advance. And then it happened, and I was like, what the shit? Okay, let's up this game a little. You can start manifesting whatever you want. The bells have rung. You have done everything that you need to start cleaning this up enough. Maybe there's still stuff going on. I mean, this isn't something that you just clean out forever good and you're fucking great. You're always going to be working at evolving. And there's going to be new triggers that come up. But look at all these big things. So if you look at the Akashics, this card's going to be a good one to explain it too. If you look at the Akashics, this big thing right here wants to get out of here so that you can start seeing all the little things. But there's actually a cobweb holding it in place. So when you come into a session, we're pulling this cobweb off first off. So it'd be like the first thing I did in your session. I'd start pulling this energy out so that now we can start digging into this really big thing, because this Akashic here is really holding some deep shit. But once we find this big thing, that's one of those big days where you have like a big clearing and you're like just stoked because you know you did something magical. You pull this stuff out and now all of a sudden you can see all the little things, right? And the little things sometimes are just tied to this big thing. But this needs to go to be able to see the little things that also trigger this. So say this is a mom wound because we got this feminine here, right? So we have this mother wound here, but there's also all these mother wounds all back here from all those lifetimes that things have happened to our mom, whether she died or she killed us or, you know, we were taken from her or, you know, whatever's happened. Good lives too. There's stuff in there about that as well. It's not all bad. We start pulling this stuff out and then we start pulling all those little layers. And this is that package that I'm talking about, right? Is as we go, we start healing those things. So we don't always see that shift instantaneously where it all just shows up. Sometimes it actually takes just moving this cobweb. This cobweb could just be easy stuff of just the ego getting in the way. Holding on to that empath grid where we have to feel all the emotions to keep building into those Akashics. We have to really start feeling our body and understanding what is showing up for us and where we need to shift things and why things are showing up over and over and over again. So we can start removing these layers, right? Because once you start removing this, then you start pulling the little pieces. And then there's another big one, you know, we got big things all throughout there, stuff like this. So we have all these layers that need to be pulled. And you've been doing that work without even knowing it. So we always are doing our work because that's what our soul is signed up for. But when we're in avoidance of doing the things that our soul's kind of going, hey, we should go here today. Hey, we should go and do yoga today. Today's the Wednesday yoga that I normally go to. We should go to yoga today. But right now my body's actually like, you need to just stay home away from the humans because you really need to just dive into your shit. So my car broke down to make sure that I wasn't at the place because I would have had my schedule open for today to like do sessions and do the yoga and do the things and be with all the people. But that's not what I'm being called to do. So if I put myself in a situation where my body's like, hey, actually, we don't require this right now. We require alone time in silence and like seeing the things that I need to pull out because I've pulled the big things out, but I'm still also cleaning this stuff up, right? We're all cleaning this stuff up, always. There'll be those little things that show up, but as you start making more room, it's like, this stuff's irrelevant, right? It starts becoming irrelevant. You see a trigger and you're just like, oh, what's this about? Oof, pull that out of there. Carry on with the day. These big triggers, when we first start healing, like I used to go like 6 months. I'd have something happen and I go 6 months into a pity party and like hide in my house and watch fucking Grey's Anatomy for 16 days straight and like not do anything but feel sorry for myself. And that was how I had to work through my big triggers. And then all of a sudden it was like, 3 months. I'd shut down, stop talking to all my friends, hermit mode. Now it's like 5 minutes. I go in a mental breakdown about something, call a girlfriend, talk through it, pull it out, carry on with my day because I got bigger shit to do. I can't take 6 months to heal my things anymore. But sometimes we require that. And so this is kind of what these last few years have been, is teaching you how to do that. I went on a super rant there, but clearly it was a needed thing. So there's a lot of shit happening, right? And you can look at that death card as this fear and this death coming and all this stuff, but you can also look at it as exactly as I explained it. We're letting this death of all these Akashics, all this bullshit, fucking conditioned lifetimes that we've lived where our magic's been suppressed and told it's not allowed because other beings are using our fear to take our magic from us so that they can create magic. You don't think these people hold this much abundance and all these things and control us this way because they're just more powerful voice as a voice? That's not a thing. They're taking our magic from us and using it for themselves. So take your fucking magic back. We have to start being more accountable. We have to stop holding on to this fear saying, oh my God, I have no money. I have no this. I have no that. Listen, the money always shows up and you damn well know it. And so while you hold on to this idea of, I don't have enough, the universe that's holding this container, I'm going to take that universe back, these collectives that are holding this container over our heads saying that all this stuff is happening to us and we have all these things that are going to kill us and this, that, and the other thing and all this fear. They are literally taking your magic from you, saying you are not as powerful as them, and they're winning. You can take your power back if you choose to stand up and close that damn portal in your house, get a pendulum, start finding your things, releasing these entities, releasing these cords and contracts that say you hold no power. As soon as you do that, you start creating magic. Damn, I'm spicy today. I should do a couple videos. Get one for next week and like really just like pump out some spicy videos and like kick y'all asses. Okay, get me a less spicy card, shall we? All right, this is my other, this card's been coming out a lot and I love it. Like, there's something about it. Another thing that I've really been seeing is this like, there's many timelines on top of each other right now. And so if you look at each one of these mirrors as a different timeline of, we can walk through all these doors right now and go to the next level. So we're in this in-between phase where we're really being asked, where do we want to go? And this is why I'm giving you such like a hard video of like, what do you want? What do you require? What are you doing? because you can choose to go through each one of these doors. And depending on where your mindset is at is where you're going to go. Do you want to be really abundant and really feel that rainbow makes me think of like the 10 of cups, right? Which is like that emotional fulfillment, that stable, happy life, like this abundance, right? And all these doors are going to take you somewhere magical unless you really dive into that deep, heavy news stuff, which I feel like not many people are going to be drawn to me if they are, because I trigger people. So they probably leave pretty quickly anyways. But if you really get stuck in that heavy timeline, you will go down a dark hole. It's a thing. And this is why I'm like, take your fucking power back and stop worrying about what's going on out there, and stop worrying about your family members that are pissed at you for not getting vaccinated or whatever is going on in your world. Don't worry about that. It's irrelevant. And when you start standing in your power, you'll have the people that love you for who you are show up. The people you require right now to get you to that next level. Damn, I keep going on these tangents. Okay, so aligned with purpose, crossroads, no wrong path. And that's kind of what I'm saying here too. I mean, even if you go down that dark path and you choose to really dive into that deep stuff, it's what your soul required. So like, is it wrong? What is right and wrong anyways? Is it wrong to go down that path and maybe you're meant to be the light worker that's in there eventually that wakes up to help wake other people up? Who knows? I mean, I'd prefer y'all to come up on this big mirror with me and let's like go fucking create some real magic, because I want to go pick up more mountains, like legit, and not just BC mountains, all the mountains, everywhere. Okay. There's this upgrade coming in for a lot of people right now. The crown chakra upgrades here. And there's this energy of really needing to take in some downloads. And so I have been dropping a lot of codes into your fields if you're open to them while I'm talking, right? Because I'm sending out a lot of codes to you guys right now and really hammering some shit in. I'm like, nothing I talk about anymore is fucking simple. I'll tell you that. I don't talk about coffee or dogs or, well, I'll talk about dogs. That's a lie. I will go love the neighbor's dog for hours. Okay, the divine matrix. Interconnectedness, synchronicity, and God consciousness. It's interesting because the movie The Matrix has come up as an example this week because of that in-between worlds. And if you haven't watched it, there's these pills that this guy can take where he either kind of takes one that shuts off his mind and goes back to the reality that he knows about Earth and humaning and stuff like this, or he can take that other pill that really dives him into all this really deep shit. And so with that energy, you're in this space of in between where you can, like I said, you can go into that, taking that one pill that literally kind of takes you down that road. You start watching the news, you start diving into it, you dig into that fear, and you kind of just go where they decide you go. And that's a possibility. If you don't want to get into this, because if you think shit's crazy right now and the things you're seeing, like it only gets crazier. But also gets magical too, like more magical. And you start seeing things so differently once you take that leap of faith into this world. But you don't have a choice of this, I'm kind of in, kind of out. Like, get the fuck in or get the fuck out. Okay. I'm gonna destroy and uncreate that all. Jump in or jump out, guys. Okay? You really have to make a decision here, because we can't just half spiritual this shit anymore. It's a thing. You see it everywhere, because everywhere you go, you're going to be pulled in different directions, just like my session right now. Like, I'm literally going on these tangents. Why? Every time I do a session, I go somewhere and I get into these readings and I go somewhere with them. Stories come up that are relevant. I'm not even really pulling cards today at this point. I'm literally just channeling this information of like, this is the reality that's happening right now. What are you doing with it? Because we can't sit in victim mode and go, oh my God, the world's against me, blah, blah, blah. Because if you hold that intention, it's going to happen. You hold this intention that everything's falling apart and your world's breaking down, blah, blah, blah. It's going to happen. And you see it. It's literally happening. If you're doing it, it's happening. So what is magical about your life? What is great that's happening? What are you doing for yourself to get out of this? Because you are the one that holds the key to get out of it. It's nobody else's problem but yours. You live with you every single day of your life. Nobody else. So when shit goes bad in your life, you're making a decision to put yourself there, because if there's stuff happening, your Akashics are showing up saying, hey, this is something that we keep playing out because in our blueprint, our soul's blueprint, it says this is something we're supposed to play out because we're contracted to it. Go in, pull the contract out, burn that shit, integrate the lessons, and move on. Start changing your life. You want to learn how to do it? Come have a session with me. Let's start talking. Now, if people ask me questions, I will start making videos and bitch slap you a little harder because it's what I do. So, this Sword of Light, I'm going to end with this one. Maybe. The Sword of Light is like at the bottom of the deck here too. And that's, again, that's kind of that cut the cords, right? You have people showing up in your life that aren't being authentic. Cut the cords. You don't need that shit. You don't actually need any of these people. So let go of that human, simple mindset of saying, this is the only person I can survive with. Bullshit. You're the only person you can survive with, so deal with it. Start loving yourself more. You literally hang out with yourself every single day. Okay. I'm like, I feel like I want like one card to end this softer. Because she was a little spicy in here today. So, the Earth Star activations here. I like how I'm like trying to get a nice card and then they literally give us the 10 of Fire. Too much work. Accept help from others. Life is out of balance. Stress-related health concerns. So this one's really just asking you to start paying attention, right? That's that weight of all the stuff that you're carrying. So this can be physically too much work where you literally need to take that time. Like today, my car broke down to make sure that I did not go out of the house. For this last week, it broke down 2 days before Christmas. And I've legit just been like surviving with it. Do I like it? No, I'm a driver. I want to go fucking drive my car right now. But in driving my car, I go out with the people and all the things and I start getting around people and everything. And I'm being asked not to do that right now. So I'm like, you know what, whatever. I'm chill at home. I'm okay with that too. I'd just rather be able to drive whenever I want as well. I have my own stubborn ways. And so this is me being asked to start letting go of some of that burden of like expecting myself to be at work all the time to make my money and do my things and do this and that and the other thing. Help the people because I feel like everybody needs help right now. So like I should be just doing more sessions, but what if that's not what I'm supposed to do? Pull back. What do you require right now? Pay attention to that because you can go burn yourself out. But what good are you